Hi guys, I missed so much the past week because I was gone on the most amazing trip of my life. It was so amazing. But yeah, I missed a lot of things this week. So the most amazing Erkenci episode aired. Then the big news broke that Erkenci will end by episode 51 and I was so heartbroken. My opinion on this whole Erkenci ending situation is I kind of get it and I'm happy that it will end, but on the other side I'm really sad. So why I'm happy is because it should end on a high note. It shouldn't be dragged along like other series that I've seen where I'm like, oh my god, just please end, this is getting ridiculous. Erkenci hasn't reached that level and I'm happy that it hasn't. So for it to end on such a high note without being dragged along is a great decision, because people will remember it as an amazing series and not as a series that was amazing and then just got ridiculous. On the other side, I'm really sad because I don't really want to say goodbye to John and Sanem, to this amazing story, but all good things have to come to an end. Or what's the saying? I don't know. Anyways, before I get into my review, if you're new to this channel, hello and welcome. I summarize the latest Erkenci episodes, say what I liked, what I didn't like, predict what might happen next. If you like these kinds of videos, subscribe to my channel and we will meet on a weekly basis for like 3 more times. This episode was unbelievable, unreal. Like within the first 5 minutes I was sobbing. I don't know if it was due to my tiredness, or just let me know if you felt the same. I think everybody felt the same, especially when they saw Demet desperately wanting to see Can because he was just laying there with the tubes all over him. It was just so heartbreaking to see everybody there by his side. Emre, Deren, Gigi, Muzo were the first ones there, then Bulut and Dennis also came, Aziz and Miriban came. He was so heartbroken. The Aydins came, Mama David came. You really saw her motherly instincts, you really saw her caring for her child, and I really like that Mama David changed in that way, because I didn't want to say goodbye to this series with Mama David being so stupid and so, I don't know, what's the word I'm looking for? She got good, like she's not evil, that's the word. She's not evil anymore and she supports Canem and she supports Sanem, and I really like that. Just a side note. I also saw that the Aydins let go of their grudge against Can. They saw how much Sanem cares for Can, especially when they went to see her and she was screaming to see Can. It was just such an amazing performance by everyone. Like, this cast is so talented and I felt so sad and desperate, and I don't know, I felt so many emotions just watching them. I think in that moment it really clicked for Mevkibe and Nihat that Sanem really cares for Can and that Can belongs to Sanem, kind of. But anyways, Sanem goes to see Can. She's heartbroken. She wants him to wake up. The doctor comes, says that he has a very severe head injury. So then we see Sanem getting better and better, visiting Can on a daily basis, reading to him from her book, talking to him, being by his side. It was just so sad to see that. And then like 1 month later, Can finally wakes up, and we already saw that in the trailer. Can remembers everybody in the room, so it's Mama David, Aziz, Emre and Sanem, and she's really excited that he's awake, but he only remembers or recognizes Mama David, Emre and Aziz. So when he goes to Sanem, he's like, and who are you? Are you a doctor? And she gets really sad and keeps saying, I'm Sanem, I'm your Sanem. And he's just really blank. Anyways, she's not leaving the hospital till he gets discharged, and he comes out of his room, asks Sanem questions about him, about them. Anyways, Can gets discharged and the doctor says to Aziz, Mama David and Sanem that they should just live a normal life, bring Can back into his normal habitat where he used to live. Just be normal and he will remember everything as time goes on. And it was so adorable sometimes to see Mama David wanting to take care of Can, but then entrusting Can to Sanem. The first moment that I laughed in that episode was when Gigi, Musa and Daran were in that canteen talking about Can and his condition, and Musa just being really frustrated that Can doesn't remember him, and Daran at first being like, don't be so pessimistic, be positive, blah blah blah. And then when she reached that goal of Gigi and Musa not being pessimistic, she starts getting really negative. It was just amazing to watch. Anyways, Can gets discharged. They bring him to the farm. Everybody is there having a welcome back party for Can, and that's the moment when he sees Nihat and Mevkebe for the first time, and you can really see his frustration that the majority of the people he doesn't remember, but they support him and they want to help him. So it's really frustrating for him, and that's why he says thank you for this party, but I don't want to stay here anymore. I want to rest, because it's just really frustrating for me especially not to remember all of you. And Emre and Layla take him to his house, and it was just so hilarious to watch, like Can being like, Emre, isn't it like inappropriate to be this close to your assistant? Because Emre hasn't told Can that they're embarrassed, and he's like, well, she's my wife. And Can's reaction was 10 out of 10. After that, Sanem comes up with the idea and tells it to everybody that they should bring back the agency, take him back where everything started. And Gigi's like, well, where do we get the money from? So Sanem goes to that cosmetic guy who wants her creams and proposes him a deal that he should give them money, blah blah blah. So she tells him that she will sign the deal if they get the whole campaign and I think some money as well, I don't remember. But anyways, he accepts it, so that's where they have the money from. She goes back, tells Can that he also needs to sign the contract. Before she got there, he was looking at his Instagram, seeing pictures of him and Sanem, and you could really see his frustration that he doesn't really remember her, because in the hospital, when it was only Aziz, Emre and Mama David in his room, he asked who that girl was, and everybody told him that they had the most amazing love story and that she turned it into a novel. And even Mama David was like, you had the most amazing love story. So anyways, we see them all going back to the agency, Sanem having that speech from the preview. We also see that Mevkebe and Nihat feel really bad for Can's condition, especially Mevkebe. She says that it was their fault, because she keeps saying that if they allowed Sanem to go on this world tour, nothing would have happened. And then she kind of comes up with the idea to help Can remember everything by making a potion, and Nihat is so against it. So on the second storyline, we have Mevkebe hiding this potion and potion mixing from Nihat. Then we have the old Can back coming into the agency, being like in episode 1. His style is back, his bun is kind of back, him greeting people, just being the old Can. And then we have Aziz telling him how he actually became the boss of this agency and what happened during those 2 years. And before Aziz tells him that, Can asks for tea, but Sanem wants to bring it to him, so she sticks around, and his look is like, can you just go? Why are you still standing here? And Sanem is really frustrated because Can still doesn't remember her. And then she has this idea, because she's talking to her voice again, to change her style back to the way it was, because that might help Can remember her. And honestly, I'm really happy that she's back to her old style. I mean, I didn't hate her new style, but it was just like, I don't know, I prefer the other one. So I'm really happy that it's back. Then her telling Daran that she shouldn't call her Sanem anymore but Öbürü. And Daran was like, well, I can't do that, I love you so much. And then they got really excited and go to Can and being like, I will humiliate you. Now I understand it, what you're doing. This might help Can remember everything. It was just so amazing and so adorable to see them all try to get Can's memory back. So then we have this whole tea thing happening. Mevkebe mixed a special tea for Can so he can remember Sanem. So the next day Sanem brings the tea to the agency. She has like 3 portions in there. So the first time Musa goes to Can, and Can is looking at the tea like, what the hell is that? And Muzo kind of forces him to drink it, and he's like, well, I'm not going to drink this. It looks disgusting. It's not the color it should be. Then we have Gigi going to Can with the tea, but in a mug, so Can doesn't see the color of it. As he enters, he sees that the glass is empty, so he's quite happy, but he also kind of forces Can to drink the tea, otherwise he wouldn't leave. And then he takes a teaspoon and is like, I'm a hitman, I will kill myself if you don't drink it, blah blah blah. And then he asks Can, well, you drank the last tea, why don't you drink this tea? So he's like, well, do you want to see what happened to the last tea? And he pours it into the plant, which we already saw in the trailer. And then it's Sanem's last chance, so she goes with the tea. She's like, oh, this is so good. Takes a sip out of it. It's disgusting. Anyway, she tries to make Can drink it, and she's like, this is so good. And then he's like, okay, well, give it to me. He takes a sip and is disgusted. Like, it's horrible for him. He's like, how can you drink this? This is just not tea. It's just horrible. Oh, before that, when Sanem enters, you can see that Can is kind of affected by her. He's staring at her and then trying not to look at her, not to be affected. So he's starting to feel something. Anyways, after this whole tea drama, Mevkibe invites Can for dinner and makes Nihat buy all the fish he can find, because it said that fish and pepper will help your memory. Then Sanem has the idea to get Can to the problem rocks. So he tells him that they have a very urgent meeting, but tells Daren to call them 10 minutes after they left so she can cancel the meeting because something happened. So Sanem is on their way to the meeting. Daren calls them and Sanem is having this full-on conversation. Oh my god, I'm so sorry this happened. Okay, no problem. So Can is like, well, then what are we doing? We're stuck in traffic. And then Sanem is like, well, I'm really hungry, I'm not feeling well, can we just stop somewhere? So she leads him to the problem rocks. There she kind of gets angry, starts a fight to recreate this fight they had. I don't remember which episode it was, but I know he had like a green shirt on and she had this red shirt on. Anyways, so they start fighting and then they start walking away just like the previous time. And then Can remembers this split second and he calls Sanem. She's like, oh my god, he remembers. So she runs up to him and then he's like, the car is this way, we have to go. So she's like really frustrated that he didn't remember it, or at least he did remember it but didn't tell her. Anyways, they go to the islands, they have dinner. Everybody is trying to make Can eat all the fish with pepper he can. Mevkibe goes inside to pour the last cup of her specialty, but she hears something, so she leaves. Nihat comes inside because it's really hot and is really happy to see that tea there, so he drinks all of it. Mevkibe is really sad and angry that he drank her special tea. Sanem is like, well, where's the tea? When Mevkibe comes out, she signs to Sanem that Nihat drank all of it. And that's also the scene where we see Nihat remembering a football game from years ago. The next day, which I thought was really cute, Can goes to Nihat and Mevkibe to check on Nihat if everything's alright because of last night. But before that happens, Sanem vents to Mehriban that she's really frustrated that Can doesn't remember her. So Mehriban is like, well, don't try to force anything, just try to be a partner to him. And then we also have Aziz giving Can the keys to his old cabin, and when Can is at the cabin trying to repair something, we see him sneezing. So the sneeze from the trailer we saw wasn't because of Sanem's perfume, but because he has a cold. Sanem goes to the agency, hears that Can isn't there, and the night before she tried to recreate the perfume she had on while she was at the 40th anniversary of Fikri Harika. And before that, I'm really sorry, but before that Can told her where his memory stops. So it's right before the kiss. The last thing he remembers is being in the loge. I also felt a little bit bad for Mama David because she's caring for Can, trying to make everything alright for him, trying to make him remember things, but he remembers his grudge towards his mother. So seeing him this harsh towards his mother It was kind of heartbreaking, and I started to like Mama David being so nice. Anyways, we also see Mama David and Selim out to eat something, and she posts a picture on social media. Miriban sees it, gets really angry because she cares so much for Selim, and she knows that Mama David is very evil and she doesn't want for Selim to be hurt by her. So she goes after them, and then we have this huge fight. We already saw pictures from where Miriban climbs up that Volkswagen, it's not a truck but bus kind of thing, tries to get to Mama David. It's just hilarious. That scene was amazing. And because of Miriban's reaction, Aziz was very disappointed because he would expect something like that from Mama David but never from Miriban. So then we have this whole Canem at the cabin scene. Before Sanem appears, we have Can reading in Sanem's book. Or before that even, there was an evening where Can came to Sanem, they drank tea, and he told her that he started reading the book but then stopped because he feels kind of bad and it feels unfair towards Sanem. Anyways, we have Can reading Sanem's book at the cabin. He sees her, hides it, then Sanem comes, tries to make him smell her like we saw in the trailer, and he sneezes, and then she's like, oh my god, you have a stuffed nose, so we have to clear your nose up. So he goes looking for some firewood. She goes to look for, what's it called, chamomile, chamomile, those flowers that you make a tea from. But before that, oh my god, like my brain is mush. Anyways, before that, she actually tries to look for olive oil in his cabin, but there's none. So she goes to look for that flower, but she slips, so she's all dirty when she comes back, and Can gives her a shirt of his, and it's kind of like in episode 5 or 6 when she was there the first time. Oh, and also when she appeared, he was really surprised that she was there because he's like, well, this is my cabin, not even Polen knows where this is, so I'm really surprised that I would take you here. So he didn't really understand why she was that special and why she knew where that cabin was. Sana makes him this tea or something like to put his head above to free up his nose. When they're eating, they talk about Sanem's book. He questions her a little bit about the bellies, blah blah blah, why she's stuck on one of them, and then he compliments the salad because of the mint, and she's like, oh my god, you can smell again. So she tries to recreate everything like their first dance at the cabin. So she goes, puts that song on, they start dancing, and you can see Can slightly smelling Sanem. So I don't know, does he remember her? Does he remember the scent? And that's the end. And I'm like, I could have watched that episode for so much longer. It was that good. And that episode was almost 2.5 hours long, and I was like, no, don't end. I don't want it to end. What I forgot while this whole Canem thing was happening, the cosmetic guy came to the agency, wanted to talk to Can and Sanem, but they were at the cabin. So Leyla, Emre, Daran, JJ and Muzo are trying to keep the cosmetic guy there, but he's like, well, you're not the only agency, I only want to talk to Can and Sanem, blah blah blah. But Leyla comes up with that idea to invent a man called Arthur Capello, who's very famous, and Canem had to go see him, talk to him because of the campaign, blah blah blah. And that kind of keeps the cosmetic guy there. They show him the presentation, he's really excited, he really likes it, so they get the deal. After he left, everybody's like, well, who's Arthur Capello? And she's like, well, there's nobody like that. So they have to come up with a person who can play Arthur Capello. And as soon as I heard that, I was like, the only person that comes to my mind that would do something like that would be Selim. And now to Alex's predictions for episode 49. So we got the preview. We have Sanem sleeping on her couch, Can coming, being all cute, playing with the flower by her nose, waking her up, then being cute and cuddly together. Him complimenting her for kind of solving the problem with Arthur Capello, and he still doesn't remember her, but I think he starts to fall for her. So I do think that we will have Can still dealing with his memory loss in episode 49. But that preview was so adorable and I can't wait to watch it. Then we have a trailer, Canem stuck in traffic, Sanem going with somebody on a motorbike. Can might be a little bit worried about her, jealous, I don't know. Anyways, they are in Sanem's house. Like, she needed to grab something from a high shelf and she couldn't, and he took it from there. So that scene reminded me of episode 2 when they were at the printer's and she wanted to take the 40th anniversary invitation. Like, that might be also a moment that he will remember. Then in the second trailer we see that this Arthur Capello problem is very big, so this will be kind of the main thing. And we also see a new girl. I don't know who she is, what she's doing, but apparently she's working with John, so this will be interesting. We will see jealous Sanem, and then we have Janem at the problem rocks once again, and him having the same conversation with Sanem he had when they had this green shirt, red shirt on, and they were walking past each other. You know, that scene that he already remembered parts of, but he says the exact same thing in next episode as well. So I'm really interested to see if he remembers that moment. But yeah, there are not that many predictions that I can make because all the trailers are out, all the previews are out. So all I can say is that Selim will be Arthur Capello. Jan will still struggle with his memory loss, so I don't think that he will regain it. Maybe by the end of the episode, but I think in episode 50 he will have his memory back. What I really want to see is Jan finishing the book and his reaction to the thing that Emre did to him. Because in episode 40 we had Emre being really scared for Jan to arrive to that chapter, and we still haven't seen that, so I really want to see that, if that makes sense. Anyways, this was a very short, quick review. I'm really excited for episode 49 and I will enjoy the last 3 episodes. My next review for episode 49 will be up as usual on a Saturday, and then the last 2 reviews will be a little bit off schedule because I'll go on holiday once again. Anyways, I hope I didn't forget anything, mention everything. I hope you liked this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. It will really mean a lot to me. Comment down below what your thoughts are on episode 48. Subscribe to my channel to see more Erkenci crochet reviews or videos that I do in general, and click that bell to be notified whenever I post something, and I will see you next time. Bye!